All right, let's dive right in. We've got a real puzzle on our hands today, something I'm calling the case of the crazy quilts. So let me ask you this. Do you think you can solve a mystery using just a couple of fractions? It sounds kind of simple, right? But trust me, you're going to need your wits about you for this one. A little logic, a little math, and a sharp eye will definitely help. Okay, here it is, our case file. We're starting with a simple 8 by 8 grid. That's 64 squares in total. And right now, it's completely blank. Our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to fill this thing with color, but we can only use a handful of cryptic clues to figure it all out. All right, let's get the official briefing. This whole challenge actually comes from a group of fourth graders who are making a quilt, so it's up to us to take their clues and piece together the final design. The investigation starts right now. And just like that, our first piece of evidence is in. Clue A. It says 1/16 of the quilt is colored yellow. Okay, but then it adds it is in the center. Now that's the key detail. So we've got two things to work with. How much and where? So first things first, let's crack this fraction. How many squares is 1/16 of our quilt anyway? Let's just break that down real quick. The whole quilt has 64 squares, right? To get 1/16 of that, all we have to do is divide 64 by 16, which gives us, 4. And there it is. That's our magic number. We're looking for exactly 4 yellow squares. Boom. First part of the clue, solved. And remember, the clue said they're in the center. So let's go ahead and pop those 4 squares right in the middle of our grid. See that? The whole thing is already starting to take shape. Awesome. One clue down, a few more to go. Let's keep this momentum going and start decoding the next color. All right, next up, we've got clue C. It says 12/64 of the quilt is blue. But here's the really important part, so listen close. It goes around the yellow section. Now that is a massive hint for us. You know, this one's even easier to figure out. The fraction is literally 12 out of 64. Since our quilt has 64 squares total, we just need 12 blue squares. The top number, the numerator, tells us exactly what we need. And because the clue says they go around the yellow, we know exactly where they fit. They form this perfect border locking right into place around that yellow center. Okay, now this thing is really starting to look like something. Okay, we are on a roll. But the next clue, well, it throws a little wrench in the works. I'm calling this one the purple predicament because it's got a twist. This isn't just about math. It's about pure logic. Here we go. Clue B, 28/64 of the quilt is purple. Okay, sounds simple enough. But wait for it, here's the catch. It does not touch the blue part. Whoa, okay, that changes everything. So first things first, how many squares is that? Well, 28 out of 64 means we're dealing with 28 purple squares. Man, that's a lot of the quilt. So let's think about this. If purple can't touch blue, what does that actually mean for us? It means any square that's right next to that blue border is off limits. We can just rule them all out. So the purple has to go somewhere else. And when you look at it that way, there's only one place they can go. The 28 purple squares have to fill in all the outer edges of the quilt. See? It makes a kind of frame with a nice clean gap between it and the blue. Predicament solved. Okay, we are so close. I can feel it. We've got our yellow, our blue, our purple. They're all in place. All that's left is to figure out the last color, green, and fill in those last empty spots. So how many green squares are there? It's just simple subtraction now. We started with 64 squares total. Let's take out the 4 yellow ones. That leaves 60. Now take away the 12 blue ones. We're down to 48. And finally, let's subtract those 28 purple squares, and that leaves us with 20. 20. That's our answer. There are 20 green squares. And since the puzzle wanted the fraction, that's 20 out of 64. And that, my friends, is the final piece of the puzzle. And just look at that. Every single square is filled. Yellow in the middle, then blue, then that band of green, and finally the purple frame around the outside. It's perfect. The case of the crazy quilt is officially closed. But wait, we're not quite done. Now that we've solved this mystery together, I'm handing the case file over to you, because now it's your turn to be the designer. It's actually really simple. Just grab a grid and come up with your own secret design.
Count up how many squares of each color you used and turn those into fraction clues. And hey, if you really want to make it tricky, throw in a placement rule, kind of like that purple one we had. Then hand it over to a friend and see if they can crack your code.
So there you have it. We just saw how a few simple fractions can turn into a really fun, really satisfying mystery. It just goes to show you what you can build with a little math and logic. Which leaves me with just one last question for you. What kind of mystery are you going to design?